What's up, guys? You're watching Twitch, the Shieldbearer of Faith. Thank you for being here. Again, like always, forgive the glare. It is what it is. And if you hear a weird noise in the background, it's my heater. So I got an email from one of you guys a couple days ago. And the specifics of that email are not relevant for you guys, but the general topic, I think, might be. So I want to discuss it. Now, I find consistencies in my world. Almost everywhere I go, I'm given the opportunity to speak about Christ and to speak about salvation and baptism. And then, in many cases, without me really looking for it, baptisms are a common denominator in my life. And I think there are reasons for that that don't have anything to do with me. And so to give you an idea real quick of what I'm talking about, when I was in Ukraine, the young lady that you guys have seen in the footage that I posted, where you get this one still shot of a baptism, she was with a different missions team that we kind of attached to or shared a residence with for a few days. And she had been in country for months. Now, let's break that down. She's a professional missionary, right? And I think sometimes we forget that just because you have any title doesn't actually mean anything. You could be a police officer or a soldier and know almost nothing about firearms, right? I knew plenty of cops that didn't really know anything about firearms because the standard was very low. That wasn't our primary thing. Same thing with the military. Just because you were in the military doesn't mean you were combat arms or that you were ever deployed. So that on its own doesn't mean anything. Well, same thing in reference to this other team or even my team. Just because you are on a missions trip or that you are a professional missionary doesn't actually mean anything. It doesn't mean that you don't struggle. It doesn't actually mean that you have faith, technically. It should mean that. But just like being a cop should mean that you have some knowledge and understanding of firearms, it doesn't always equal that. So, few days I was there with this team. We had lots of conversations. A lot of them were very humorous. A lot of them were very lighthearted. And at a certain point, the conversation about baptism came up, and I don't even remember why. I think I was sharing that it's unusual how frequent in my world that is a thing people need. And that I may not be the best guy for it, but I seem to be used by the Lord in that capacity a lot. And eventually that conversation took hold of this young lady. We're going to call her Jane because I don't need to give you her real name. Jane told me that baptism for her when she was growing up was a required rite of passage to be in her church. That's not specific to just her church. It's not, and that's unfortunate because baptism is not designed or described biblically to be a rite of passage for a man-made institution. That's not what it is. It's also not ever described in the Bible as something that happens to an infant. You're never given a description of that. Doesn't mean it couldn't have happened. It just means it's not described. And I can kind of give you an explanation as to why, at least what I think at this point, is that an infant, a baby, or even a young child cannot consciously make the decision of that. Just like in today's world, they can't be expected to consciously make the decision of what gender they want to be. First of all, that's not a choice. And second of all, they're a child. Kids do not have the understanding required to make decisions like that. That's why they need parents. Same thing with baptism. My wife was raised Catholic, and she had water sprinkled on her. That was the baptism for Catholicism. As an infant, as a baby, you cannot give me salvation. You can't give it to me, and I can't give it to you. It's not mine to give. The best I can do is witness about it and try to speak about what the Spirit has shown me to this point, speak about what I have been told or shown or taught what experiences I've had. That's what a testimony is, and that's why it has meaning and power, because I can tell you what I've experienced to this point, just like you could for me. I can't hand you salvation, though. I can show you the way. I can speak about it, but it's not mine to give. I couldn't save myself, so I darn sure can't save you. So why is that so frequent? Because it's more than half of the people that I have baptized in the Messiah's name have a similar testimony. As a child or a baby even, they were baptized by worldly standards, not by anything biblical. And even if it was real for them at the time, most were like the prodigal son, and they went a solid wrong direction for years. And then when they became an adult and they got a different understanding, they really understood the gravity of what was going on. Then they make a choice to give their life to Christ, take salvation, accept it, and it is an exchange. It's just like we go to a store, and I'm going to take you this old, beat-up, raggedy item that I have had for my entire life, and I'm going to hand it to God, and He's going to hand me a new life. It's an exchange, which also comes with other expectations that we can talk about in a moment. But when you make that choice, consciously, knowingly, willingly, not under duress or peer pressure, that is real. So a question that I frequently ask people is, can you identify a moment in your life? You might not remember the date, but can you witness to me about a moment in your life that you consciously made the decision, not under peer pressure, not under duress, to give your life to the Messiah and to accept salvation? More often than not, the answer is no. When I'm talking to someone about this, more often than not, they do not have a moment where they can say that they gave their life and exchanged it for new life. You know what that means, guys, is that it hasn't happened. Also, very frequent, usually in that same chain of conversation pieces, people will tell me that no, but they've been striving after God. They've been looking for God. They've been trying to follow God. That's great, but they haven't even started walking on that road yet because you have not given your life. It's like you're sitting on the edge of the road. You can be sitting even in your own car, but you're not driving with traffic yet. You're not on the road. You can see traffic going by. You can see the movement. You can see the actions of other people who are on the road. But you yourself are not on the road yet. You have to make the decision to put it in drive and start the journey. That is what salvation is. You have to start. It's not something you can be handed from another man or woman, and it's not something that you can inherit from your parents. I've had people tell me that before. When I ask them, can you identify a moment where you gave your life? Well, my mom or my grandma, she was a great Christian woman. And it's somewhat confusing because that doesn't matter at all for you. That's great for your grandma or your mom. I'm sure we'll see them in heaven. It does not matter for you. You cannot inherit salvation. So, hey buddy, go on back. Go back. I love you. He can't inherit it either. He'll have to make a decision one day. At best, what we can do is lead them in that, okay? Now, if you haven't had that moment, but you're interested, you're wanting to give your life to Christ, and you're feeling like that bystander beside the road that I just talked about, and you're seeing other people, man, they seem to have it going on. They seem to have momentum in their life. They're driving down that road. Yeah, you can just do that. Believe with your heart, confess with your mouth that Jesus, Yeshua, the Messiah, the Savior, the Son of God, that He's real, that He died for your sins, and death couldn't hold him, and he was resurrected. That is how simple that is. But the confession with your mouth part is vital. And then, the next series of steps, it is commanded to be baptized. It is commanded. It's not optional. So if you believe in and want to follow Christ, and you have not been baptized, and it has to be in that order, guys. Baptism has no value or meaning prior to salvation. That's why it can't work for a baby. They have not made the decision, knowing full well what the consequences are. They have not been given the option to give their life. So baptizing them doesn't matter. That's harsh, isn't it? But that's the reality. That's why almost every person I speak to about this topic, that's how consistent it is. I've gotten familiar with the questions and answers that they're going to come with because they've been misled. They have been confused and tricked by the system because the system was laid out by man. The idea of going to a confessional booth or getting sprinkled on as a baby or saying 15 Hail Marys, that is man-made. That is not in the Bible. Anywhere. Same thing with a variety of other denominations of Christianity. What does the Bible say about whatever you're being told, including what I'm telling you? And if it doesn't give you specific instruction on it, then what examples or guidance can you find? And try to use good common sense and judgment and spiritual discernment. So, once you get through those questions, and if the answer is, no, I haven't had that moment, there's no time to wait. You don't need to wait 5 more seconds. You don't need to talk to anybody else other than the Father. And you can do that right now. So just pause my video, get that done. Now, once you do that, back to the exchange. You're handing over your old life, this dead person that you've been walking around as, and you're trading it for new life, which means a few things. One, it means that you need to stop acting dead, whatever that is for you. If you are a porn addicted person like I was, not anymore, not anymore. And you're going to have to fight that every day. You're going to have to fight with that, but you're going to have a new power in you. You're going to have a new supercharged feeling. That's also consistent in the people I have encountered, in myself included. They feel lighter, they feel supercharged, recharged. Yeah, because they've been given the piece of life that they're missing. Yeah, that living water. And then you need to start on that road. Lots of things will and should change because you went from death to life. So start living for God, for His Son. You're not living for you anymore. That's the part that really causes friction with a lot of people, because it causes turmoil in the home. I've had multiple guys that have given their lives, been baptized, made changes, the Spirit's working on them, and their relationships that they had been in fail. Because the person that their spouse or their girlfriend has been with doesn't exist anymore. It's a good thing, but it's also a difficult thing. Now, in some cases, the spouse or the girlfriend, speaking from a guy's perspective, this could go the other way as well, with a woman to a man. Sometimes it works out, and that you sticking it out and staying there as a witness for Christ influences the other person. That's what happened with my wife. I gave my life, and she witnessed the changes, the new man. And eventually she gave her life. But it's not guaranteed, because you can't give them salvation. You can't force feed it to somebody. They have to choose. So be the best living testimony you can be. Once you've made that exchange for new life, baptism is the piece that's next for almost everybody I've met. It's not optional. Doesn't matter who it's with. Doesn't have to be me. I don't matter. But it is not optional. And that is consistently where you see the charging effect of the Spirit happen. Where it's motivating and driving. Doesn't mean you're perfect. It means you're motivated differently. You have a new potency about you. Once you start that journey with Christ, don't sit back on the side of the road again. You want constant forward motion with the Messiah. Constant forward progress. Constant change. Constant escalation in your life, because all of life is a training. And the Father's going to train you in the things He wants you to do. And you're not always going to know about it. You're not always going to necessarily even want it. But what you do want, what I do want, is to constantly know Him deeper and be used more. I don't want to be the most useless tool on His tool belt that He only uses every once in a while. I want to be the most useful tool I can be for all the projects. Whatever He wants and wherever He wants. So if you are someone who maybe you have taken a second in this video, made the statements, made the heart change, and given your life, and it is that simple, cool, the next step is baptism. And you need to ask yourself, if you've already been baptized, maybe as an infant, child, even as an adult, if you have already been baptized, was it real for you? That's the next question I ask, because it actually isn't up to me whether it was real or not. That's between you and God. But I'll ask them, was it real for you? Did it take hold and stay? Or did you pull a U-turn and go the wrong direction and go straight back to using drugs, cheating on your wife, hurting people, whatever your thing was? Or did it actually stay? Because again, frequently, people tell me, it mattered at the time, but then I left it. Yeah. You're going to have to go back and make confessions to God, maybe to people you've hurt. You're going to have to recommit many times your life, like the prodigal son. He went back home, asked forgiveness of the Father. See the comparison there. And the Father welcomed him back. But you don't get to go just start living in that death life again. If you haven't got confidence that your baptism was real, that it mattered, then go do that. Like today. Don't make excuses. Oh, it's cold outside. Do you care more about your relationship with the Creator of everything, or how cold it is? Will you survive it? Yeah. Will it hurt a little bit for a moment? Yeah. Because you're supposed to be dying to yourself. That's the symbolism, guys, of baptism. You are dying in your old life. You're leaving that dead man, that dead woman in the water. And whoever comes out is different. Go live that new life. Go where the Spirit tells you to go. And honestly, to heck with whatever anyone else thinks about it. Because it's not between you and them or you and me. It's between you and God. There's going to be people that don't like that. It's okay. Who are you living for? Who are you living for? Do you love God more? If you feel convicted on any topic, who are you doing it for? Is it for you? Is it for glory? No, it's not going to work out. Are you doing it because other people are pressuring you to do it? It's not going to work out. People will fail you. God doesn't fail. Make the conscious decision if you haven't already. Give your life to God. Give him everything you've got. Don't waste another second walking around as a dead man or a dead woman, because you can't exchange it for new life. And then If you are wrestling with baptism, don't waste another second. Go find some water, go find some people that you can fellowship with, and get it done. What do you have to lose on it? Why wrestle with it anymore? It is required. And I see it across the world have change. That young lady, Jane, in Ukraine, she texted me a couple days after, said that she feels lighter and she feels energized. Yeah, because you didn't do it because your church required it to be a member. You did it because you're done being dead. Start living, really living. It doesn't matter about the money. It doesn't matter about the politics. It doesn't matter about how much food or ammo or money you store. It can disappear in an instant. I've been to enough disaster zones to see that. That stuff is very minor. Put your hope in something that is reliable. And then you better hold on, because if you make that commitment, here I am, Father. I'm going to give my life to you, and I expect you to show up. Send me where you want me to go. You better hold on, because he's going to. And it's amazing to be part of. Go live. I'll see you later.